being a pastor in Alabama is it's a journey because you're dealing with a culture that sometimes is a bit repressed, and because of that, both my wife and I we are the type that we like to go get. We like to get things done, and here they're missing a lot of leadership, and everyone is waiting for someone to lead them to do something.
Welcome to the Immigrant Experience in America, an immigrant human library, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants in the United States and around the world. Listen in as we add another story to our immigrant human library. Hello, listeners. Thanks for joining us in another episode of the Immigrant Experience in America, where we amplify and humanize the experiences of immigrants living in the United States and around the world. Today, we have, of course, another exciting story to add. Our guest is Dr. Reynaldo White, and he's Panamanian-American. He now resides in Alabama. He's a pastor and author of now 15 books, and we're looking forward to hearing more about his story. Welcome, sir.
Oh, well, thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yes. Looking forward to hearing more. How is life there in Alabama? How are things going?
Well, Alabama is a little different than other states. I've lived in 4 other states, so Alabama it's one of those that it is beautiful. It's a beautiful place to live. The people are a little different because they don't understand cultural diversity, and they normally put you into 2 categories where you're either white or you're either black, and everything in the middle seems to not really exist here.
Oh, interesting. You're in the southern part of the U.S.
Yes.
For international listeners and people outside of like this region who might be trying to, people might not know hopefully people know in the U.S. like Alabama is in the South. So you moved, I think, from, is it Florida to this area?
Yes. My wife and I, we moved from Miami, Florida, and we came here for ministry, and we've been here now for 26 years.
Yes. And we visited you there in Alabama. Lovely property. And I'm sure it's still thriving, right? It
Oh,
was just
it
a
is.
huge land space.
It is. Compared to New York, it would be a whole city block.
Like literally, yeah. It's a lot of land and nature and just beautiful, beautiful place there that God has blessed you guys with. Tell us a bit about Dr. Reynaldo. Since I saw you a few years ago, you've done quite a bit. At the time you were pastoring, now you've added several books behind your name, and I think you finished your Ph.D. because you were working on it at the time, right?
Oh, yes. Well, thank God that's over with.
Tell us, like how is that journey? What's your PhD in? What is it like being a pastor in Alabama? And tell us about the books and so forth.
Okay, well, being a pastor in Alabama is it's a journey because you're dealing with a culture that sometimes is a bit repressed, and because of that, both my wife and I we are the type that we like to go get. We like to get things done, and here they're missing a lot of leadership, and everyone is waiting for someone to lead them to do something. So we've been working with our people for them to get some gumption to be able to move on their own, and we've had a lot of successes. We've had people that have gone back to school and gotten their degrees, and some of them are now school teachers and they're leaders in the community. And we have some that are in medical school, and so we've had success in our area. And as far as my doctorate, it is in educational leadership. And the reason why I did that is because there's some places you can only walk into having certain type of prerequisite accomplished. So I wanted to be able to walk in doors that normally other people would resist for someone that's an Afro Latino in my state to be able to walk in the doors. So, and I spent a good 5 years working on that. But while working on that, I was working at a school, and I was an EL teacher, English language learners, and my school had difficulties with the student bodies having vocabulary and knowing how to use the vocabulary properly, and it happens to be all over the whole state. So, and I went home and I thought, well, what can I do about this? What answers can I give to my school that can benefit the students? And my wife was out at a conference somewhere. She was out of the country, and so I had plenty of time to just think without having, to respond to anybody. I got to be all in my head, and so I thought that the best thing I can do. My students have told me over and over, you need to write your stories. You know, the things that you have gone through, they're so entertaining that if you can write that, we will want to read it. So while she was gone, I got on the computer and I started to do just that. I just started to write my story, and my story started with me being 5 years old in my home country, and what it was like to live there. And then my dad joined the military, which meant we got to live in the army base. And the army base was surrounded by jungles. So I wrote my story from 5 to 10 years old, and it's called Ray's Transcontinental Tale, from Panama to the U.S. And when I finished it, I didn't think it was a book. I just thought I wrote. And my wife came home, and I said, you know, while you were gone, I did a little writing, and if you would read it, it'll be great. So she agreed, and I gave her a packet of papers, just printed it out on a regular printer. And she went in the room and kind of locked herself in the room and came out of the room almost crying. She says, "This is great. You need to put it in a book." So that was the birth of the very first book. And when I published it, I didn't know what I was doing. You know, it's my first book, so I didn't know what I was doing. I hired someone to do all the legwork and all the stuff, and they don't seem to know what they were doing either, because they never did everything that I paid them to do. But at least my book got out there, and I had really great reviews of it. And I was surprised. People liked my stories as much as I thought they should like my stories, and they started to buy my book. And I had one complaint, and the complaint kept coming over and over and over. And the complaint was it was too short.
How many pages? How many pages?
So it was 96 pages, and the folks was like, I wanted to keep reading. You know, why did you stop? I wanted to keep reading. So I stayed with the book for a while, and then my wife, we had our daughter was pregnant, and she gave birth to our granddaughter, but our granddaughter was given 1% chance to live. She gave birth to her at 23 weeks. So while she was in the hospital with our grandbaby, I wanted to do something for her to kind of take her mind off everything that she has to focus 24 hours a day. So I gave her the printout that I originally gave my wife, and she said the same thing. This is great. Go ahead and publish it. So I did. But while she was there, the baby was in there for 6 months. So I wrote a kiddie book to go. I picked out one of the favorite chapters of the book, and I did it in for like a kindergarten book. So that ended up being my second book. So my grandbaby, she is now 2 years old. Every time we go visit, she goes to the room and gets the book and sits on my lap and wants me to read it to her.
Oh, that's sweet.
So all the other books have came up because of necessity. We have my first book. I rewrote it in Spanish, so it's for Spanish readers. You know, the regular Spanish readers, not for school reading. So I wrote that because my father-in-law was trying to read my book, and he had a dictionary right next to him. So he's reading the book and stopping to look up words. So I'm like, okay, let me just rewrite it in Spanish. So I did. Rewrote it in Spanish. So that ended up being the third book, but still, it's just my first book. And then my wife said, I would like to use this for my my Spanish class. Is there any way that you can write it a little with a bit more simple Spanish? So I did. I tried to do it really, really, really simple. I just couldn't do it. It takes too much patience to repeat the same words over and over and over again. So I rewrote it to where if you have a third year Spanish student, so third, fourth, and fifth year doing Spanish, then you can get that book. But I separated book number 1 into 4 parts. And in each one, it has an extra 2 chapters that are not in the original first book. So then I wrote my second book, and we're doing the same process where I did it in English, then I did it in Spanish, and I did a kid's book to go with it. And now I'm doing the 4 separate books for third, fourth, and fifth year Spanish students.
That is awesome. That is awesome. The amazing things that can happen once you just get an inspiration and you respond to it, right? Your wife was away.
Yes.
You felt like something was inside of you and you just started writing, and look where we are today. And your wife, I should share for our listeners, her name is Jennifer White. Check out her story. She was on the podcast, I think on season 1. Powerful, powerful story. Seriously, like, listen to her story of her journey transitioning as a Dominican American, a Spanish teacher, and some of the challenges that she faces being an educator. She was teaching Spanish in the Alabama area, as well as being your wife, First Lady. And specifically being in that part of the country and what it's like being Afro-Caribbean people or Afro-Latinos. Serving in that part of the country comes with a lot of challenges. And so I'm happy to see that you guys still have smiles on your face and you're healthy and things are going well. Yes, I'm really happy and pleased to see that.
Yes. Well, thank you. Well, what's different with my wife and I is that they consider that she looks Latina, while they consider that I don't look Latino. So we've had people to tell us, your wife is Latina, but you're not. So, and they said it to me for such a long period of time that I started doubting my own self and doubting my own culture and doubting my own heritage. And so after 20 years of being away from my country, we did a mission trip in my home country. And when I got off the plane and I looked around, I said, there's nothing wrong with me. Look, we got 3 million people that look just like me, and they're Panamanian. So I came back home looking at the people that try to convince me that I am something that I'm not. I have to this day. We had someone to come to visit our church, and she says, "Are you black?" And I said, "Yes, I'm black." So then she says, "So you're not Hispanic?" I said, "No, I'm Hispanic." Is it so you're not black? No, I'm black. So you're not Hispanic? No, I'm Hispanic. And it kept going back and forth. And I don't think I'm saying something hard, but I think here, being that 80% of people that live in Alabama have never left the borders of Alabama. So their world is the only world they know. And they'll look at you and tell you, I always wanted to go somewhere else, and say, well, we do trips. We go somewhere else at least once a year. We start paying for the trip in the beginning of the year, and then we go during the summer. You're welcome to go, but they never want to go. They have this fear of leaving the confines of the state. And unfortunately, when you're afraid to grow, you don't grow.
And there's really not much you can do but try to lead the horse to the water, and you can't force them to drink, right? As the saying goes. But yeah, we've delved so deeply into like life in Alabama, but I want to give our listeners a sense for Reynaldo prior to Dr. Reynaldo White,
Mhm.
who's now the pastor and the author. So share with us like what part of Panama you're from, like your heritage. I think there's some mixture there as well from your heritage and then coming to the US.
Well, I come from really close to where the canal is an area of Panama called Rio Bajo, and we were in extreme poverty. We grew up to where we had food challenges, and we even had two of my siblings died because we had food challenges. So my dad joined the United States Army while we were in Panama, and he had chronic asthma, but he thought if I die during training, at least insurance will be enough to where my kids won't go hungry. So when people look at us and they say things like, "Oh, I'm starving," only because they're hungry, don't do that. Don't say that. You have no idea what starvation is. You ate this morning and you're hungry now. So it's the word. The proper word is "I'm hungry." When we got to the United States, my dad said, "Listen, I brought you here, so you'll never be hungry again. So you have to do what you need to do, so you can succeed. I gave you a place, brought you to a place where you can succeed, so you can never be hungry." So because of that, my wife and I, we have a call for those who are hungry, and I don't mean so much here in the United States, because a lot of people who are hungry here in the United States, it's because they've made bad choices. And we want to help them, but we need to help them make better choices. But there are places in other countries where there is no choice, where there is just poverty, and that's all you're going to have is poverty, and you're going to live poor, and then you're going to die poor. Well, those people we try to help, and we have a school in Nairobi, Kenya, where we have 300 students. And my wife and I, we support the school, and sometimes we're the only ones supporting the school. And that's one of the outcomes of writing the book. It's to be able to create another source of income so we can provide for these 300 kids. And if you look up Nairobi, Kenya, you're going to see a lot of people that are very destitute, and they have problems with kids being on drugs. So our students are 300 kids that are former drug addicts. And last year we had 8 to graduate. Out of those 8, 6 got to go to medical school, and 2 got to go to law school. So we were really, really, really excited about being able to sponsor these kids and be able to make a difference in their lives.
Wow, that's amazing. You guys are having such an impact. And for those people who don't know, Panama is in considered a Central American country, right?
Right, it's Central America.
Can you give us a little bit of history about the country, population, what life is like in Panama for people who might not have a sense for what life is like on the ground?
Well, Panama has one of the wonders of the world, which is the Panama Canal, and recently they expanded it to be able to have the super barges go through there. You have the difference of the extreme wealth living right next to extreme poverty. And it is hard to be able to fathom that you will have a skyscraper, and right next to a skyscraper, you have people living in cardboard houses. You would have people who, right now, they have about 3,000 teachers in just the city of Panama proper that are without jobs, only because they have teaching degrees and teaching certificates, but there are no job openings for them. So you can get very educated, and still, if you don't know somebody that knows somebody, you're not going to get the interview. So we end up having poor people who are very educated. It's a great place to retire. So if anybody wants to go retire somewhere, hey, go check out Panama. We have a lot of Americans that retire there, and it's a pleasant country. It doesn't ever get hotter than 92 degrees, and it doesn't ever get colder than 70 degrees. So so it's a fantastic place, and it's you have South America and you have North America. We know that's only two of those continents, but because it's budding right into both South and America, we call it Central America. So it is at the center of both continents. And it has everything that we have here. So, like people will call and, do y'all have this kind of food over here? Yes. And we have foods that we don't have here, fruits that we don't have here, and roots that we eat that we don't have here. But everything else that you eat in the United States, you can get it in Panama. And I love my home country. We were just there last month, and we had a conference there. And my kids will say, "Why did you move to the United States?" And I look at them and say, "Because I was poor." So of course that makes a difference. But when we go back to visit, I always get the look by the local Panamanians, one of those look of approval that, yeah, one of us did it, and it's pride for all of us. If one got to do it, then the other feels like, yeah, we've done it through you. So it's a wonderful place. It's very Caribbean. So you have people that are West Indian over there, and my dad is West Indian. So when he taught Chama, and I never see it, so yet, that's
yes, which means that he's Jamaican. He's from Jamaica. Lots of Jamaicans went to Panama to help with the Panama Canal and ended up staying in Panama and built their lives. You're right. After
my granddad was Jamaican, and my dad was born in Panama, and but then you have the other extreme. My mom's mom, my grandma, was a native of Panama. So my dad would call them Spanish people. So we're an interesting mix. So I consider myself more of a mutt than anything else. And my grandma on my dad's side was from Grenada. My granddad and my mom's side was from Colombia. So, so having four grandparents from four different places, it's really interesting, because I am now discovering, after I wrote my book, I didn't think that writing a book was going to be something where you get to meet people, but there are people that bought my book and then found out that we're family. I mean, literal family, not that we're just calling each other family. So, so I've had a lot of connections, and I have that Ancestry.com, and they're like, "Look, I saw you on Ancestry.com. Look me up. I'm your third cousin." And it's like, well, yeah, you are on my list. We are related. So I've connected with a lot of my dad's mom's family and a lot of my mom's dad's family. And before I wrote this book, I didn't know any of them.
Wow, that's good. So how were they able to come across your book? Is it that you were able to access or got some sort of marketing campaign done in Panama, and you got some exposure maybe through the educational system? I'm thinking, I don't know, because both of you are in education. How are they able to get access to your book? Because as a modern author, if you don't go with some of what they call traditional publishing houses, it can be very costly to do marketing and get your book out there if you're writing your book and trying to either self-publish or to do it with like a smaller publishing house. What was that journey like for you?
Well, we paid for the marketing and all that, and they didn't do a very good job. I don't think that the people that we hired sold any books at all. Everything ended up being through my wife and I. And what happens is that, some cousins and some aunts and some uncles bought the book, and then they told other people that are their family, and it just kept spreading and spreading and spreading. And then I would go on Kindle and find out that I sold a book in Portugal, and I sold a book in Spain, and I sold a book in England. And I'm like, wait, how are they finding out about me? And it's because they're distant relatives that are finding out from other relatives. And I think most of the sales of my book have been from my own family.
That is beautiful, though. So a lot of connections have come about or
Yes.
reconnections have come about as a result of you publishing this book and basically listening to an inspiration that was inside of you, right? I wonder, give us a sense for after you left Panama, your dad came, your family came, right? What was like life adjusting to the US? Like, were you in Florida first, or were you like where did you arrive when you first arrived into the US?
We arrived to Miami, Florida, and my dad had an attorney that took his case pro bono. And so when we walked into the airport, they took us to another room. And at the other room, we were sworn in and we were naturalized citizens just coming into the United States. Then when we started school, Miami was weird for us. It was, and I'm trying not to say too much because it's in my book. But it was weird for us because it was all sand with a little bit of dirt. And then you had these plants that would prick you every time. We were used to being barefoot. We were in Central America. We were used to walking outside and no shoes on and run on rocks and gravel and all that. So we thought that our feet were a little tough, and so we did the same thing. Got up in the morning and ran outside and come back screaming because we had all these things stuck at the bottom of our feet. So we had to learn to put shoes on. And we had a mango tree, and sometimes we'll forget and see the mango on the ground and run towards the mango because there were 7 siblings, so it's like whoever gets the mango first. But then we'll get a quick reminder we didn't put shoes on. So and then what was hard for us was that we couldn't understand anybody. People would speak to us, and because they thought that we were African American, they couldn't really understand, even in Miami, that we didn't understand them. So they will look at us like if we were broken. What's wrong with him? Why isn't he speaking? And it's like, well, he doesn't understand you. Well, why doesn't he understand you? Well, because he doesn't know how to speak English. Well, how old is he? Why do he don't know how to speak English? So it was really hard to let people know and say, well, there are people that look like you and me and live somewhere else and don't speak English. So, but when I got to school, I learned English quite, within 3 to 6 months, I was proficient in English. And I would love to tell you it was because of my teacher, but I can't even remember her name. It wasn't because of my teacher. It was because there was this cute girl in the class and I wanted to speak English. So,
Well, that is quite the motivation, and it worked, right?
it worked. It worked.
Um, okay, I don't want you to give everything away. So you basically tell your part of your immigration story, growing up in Panama, coming to the US, and but that's amazing. So people might be wondering how you got naturalized in the airport, but I'm thinking that it's a connection of your father with the US military.
Yes, it was.
Okay, so for people who might be interested to see, is that an opportunity that might be available to them? Because sometimes, the truth is that, going into the military is a door for a lot of people to change their lives, and it worked for your family. With
Well,
sir,
I'm
go ahead.
a fan of the military. My dad was in, and I also served. I served during the Afghanistan war. My oldest son was in the army. My next 2 adopted sons, one is right now in AIT for the army, and the other one leaves on Tuesday to the Marines to go to infantry school. He already finished boot camp. I believe that it teaches our young men certain type of structure. And when you know how to start something and you know how to finish something, then this is a skill that lasts a lifetime. For many people start and never finished, but if you started and never finished, it doesn't count because you didn't finish. So I've had all 3 of my boys. It's like, listen, this is something you're going to need. It's not something you have to keep on doing. Once you finish your contract and you want to do something else, go ahead and do something else. But it's a benefit, and it also gives you some extra bonuses that if you apply for certain jobs, you get to be put at the top of the list. So I would recommend that to almost any boy that is trying to think of what am I going to do in the future. I have my both of my sons that my wife and I were adopted. They were diagnosed with severe autism, and we got one at 3, and the other one was 1, and they're full siblings. And when we got them, we didn't know that they were autistic, and we soon discovered just on the drive home that something was off with them. So we took him in, and they were autistic on the opposite spectrum to the extreme. So we were told they were never past the 4th grade level, and that we have to get used to their normal. Well, we took them home, and I looked at these 2 beautiful young boys, and I said, "Listen, I'm not going to live forever, so I'm going to raise you so you can take care of yourself." So, and I told them this phrase, and I know it probably is not going to be appropriate for the air, but I'm going to put it out there anywhere. You crazy, I'm crazier. We're going to see who's going to win. So, so I won because our the older of the 2, he graduated. He had $250,000 of scholarship. So as soon as he gets back from AIT, he is enrolled in college. So with $250,000, so much for that doctor said he'll never pass the 4th grade level. My younger one, he tested so high in the Marines that they already gave him a position that he's going to have a top security clearance. Uh, so, and again, he was also told that he'll never pass the 4th grade level. So it's not something that I'm just full of talk, because I have a lot of fruit that I can show that we have worked hard on it. It took a lot of work. You have to have a lot of consistency with boys that are autistic, especially when you have 2 at the same time. And so the one that I just picked up from boot camp, he leaves on Tuesday. He's only going to be with us for 10 days. So Tuesday will be his last day. When he called me, he says, "Dad, I want to thank you for all the discipline you gave me, because I got to compare while being at boot camp, and I am so much better than others." So I do believe in structure, and I think that no matter how difficult the kids are, my area of study for my doctorate was parent involvement, and I spent 4 years on just studying what good parents do, and to the point to where it's like, okay, this is what I know parenting. If we did a little bit more of that, our society would be so much better. We wouldn't have the struggles that we have as school teachers in our classrooms if we had good parents. So, and it's well worth it. It might seem like it's hard. And what I mean with our 2 special need boys is that I had to be consistent. If I said they're going to get punished for something, I had to follow through. I had to. I mean, I probably got home and I'm exhausted and I don't want to, but I have to follow through. I have to be consistent, and we did that. We did that with our 2 boys, completely consistent every single day, and it didn't matter how hard it was. But now they're going to reap the benefit, that they're going to be able to complete what they started. And my son, that he's an AIT, he's already an E4, and he's only been in National Guard for 1 year. So and I do advise any person that you're raising your kids, uh, draw some lines and said, if you pass this one, I have to chastise you. Now, your way of chastising might be completely different than mine, but that way they have understanding that no means no. So when they hear no at school, they didn't get their feelings hurt. It's like, okay, I know what no is. My parents say no. And we need more of this. Our society is suffering because we have kids that are so used to getting what they want when they want it, that when they don't get it, they have breakdowns. So I do encourage every parent, keep on parenting.
Wow, that is such good advice. That is, and our society needs that.
Join us again next time for part 2 of this episode. We thank our listeners around the world, and we appreciate your continued support as we build our human library. Please remember to give us a 5-star review, subscribe, and share with your friends, family, and circle of influence.